Get in focus there. All right. That was it was a good third period. Can say that. Otherwise, it wasn't the greatest of games from the Kraken there. They really had a chance to take a commanding lead in this series, and they didn't really come out all that great. I have a theory about that. I'll wait a little bit and then I'll drop my theory and get into all of it. But I want to thank everybody, of course, for joining us here on Emerald City Hockey's post game live presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. Look at that right there. Yeah, this was a tough game to lose. I mean, it's not the end of the world. We talked about this last time. Kraken, in a great spot after that last win. It meant that they could drop this one. Now we just, start looking at a best of 3 series with 2 games on the road. And, Kraken did pretty good in that situation last time around. They've looked good on the road all year long. They still even had flashes looking good against this Dallas Stars team in that third period, especially. There was, they were figuring out ways of getting past Ottinger, who obviously stormed back in this one and had a good game. Also, really, I mean, the Stars defense had a fantastic game too. Kraken just couldn't get shots off. I don't know how much of it was really Ottinger had a commanding and dominant performance when the Kraken had like 9 shots on goal through the first 2 periods. It felt more like the Kraken were beating themselves through most of this one than really the Stars were beating them, if we're being honest. My hair is all frizzy because, I don't know if you can tell I was pulling it out watching the Kraken play defense tonight. But it was, it's not the end of the world. This is why winning game 3 was such a big deal. And I do think that them coming back in the third period in this one was a big deal as well. Just sending that message of, hey, look, we're not going to roll over. Like, we are still a team that can do this and, hopefully build a little bit of confidence going into game 5 in Dallas, which I'll be there and hopefully they do, because I would like to see that. I'll have to remember to take the 5 gum. That's what we're gonna have to do. Looking over here at chat, Schultz, Road Warriors assemble. That's right. Kraken going back on the road. This is where they've been their most productive really all season long. It's where they've been their most consistent. It's where we've seen the biggest efforts from them. And really all of the games that they've really dominated outside of this last one in this series. They look fantastic on the road. So I do think that that's a positive for them. Again, it's not something you want to always have to fall back on, but it is there for them to fall back on. Rain, has there been a single game in the second round where both teams looked good? On the bright side, if we keep trading good games, we win. And then also, I was hoping to avoid the Martin Jones experience in the playoffs, but that wasn't terrible. No, Martin Jones did an okay job in there. He made some big saves when he needed to in that third period, let the Kraken cook a little bit. I think that was important. I'm not always the biggest fan of changing out the goaltender for the third period like that. I think you want to, you don't want to ever send the wrong message to your starter. That being said, I'm sure Grubauer and Hackstall had a productive conversation about it. I think Grubauer would understand that was really more so about getting the rest of the team going, given that a lot of the goals tonight really weren't on Grubauer. It was a lot of defensive mistakes or turnovers or, not covering anybody, or, a questionable goaltender interference call that, for the life of me, I'll still just never understand why those go the way they do. But you're right. If every team, if this series is going to be trading good games, well, then crack it in 7. Book it now, right? That's what they're on pace for. And I also know what you mean. In the second round so far, yeah, almost every game has been just kind of dominant. I'd argue that last game, that last Florida-Toronto game, I mean, it went to overtime. Things were pretty cool there. I think the first game in this series was all right. I know a lot of people have been having that sentiment of no good games in the second round, but I don't know. I thought the first game of the Vegas-Edmonton series was good. Draisaitl with the 4 goals and everything. I don't know. I think there's been some okay games in this second round. Ty, looking for some competitive hockey, lol. Yeah, you got it in the third, man. I was there in the third. It's just a shame the Kraken weren't able to get going before that. I was really hoping they were going to be able to come out for the second period a little bit better than they did. It's one thing to come out a little bit flat in the first period. Dallas really playing with their backs up against the wall. All right, you can understand that. Kraken maybe a little bit of jitters given the situation and their ability to take that commanding lead in the series. But I really thought that they were going to be able to make adjustments from period 1 to period 2 and come out looking a lot better than they did. And the bottom line was they just didn't. Kraken looked still pretty bad in that second period. I mean, it echoed the first 11-5 shot differential in favor of Dallas in that second period. A tough game. Oh, I'm just seeing Jaden Schwartz, first star of the game. Really? Way to go. I mean, he had a fantastic game as far as, motivating his team to get back into a tough one, scoring some big goals and all that. Like that's a lot of stuff, but interesting. It's not very often that you see a 6-3 result and somebody from the losing team gets on there. That's pretty interesting. Cool though. Cool for Jaden Schwartz. Um, so yeah, I thought the Kraken could have come out better in the second period, and you know what? If they had, maybe we're talking about a different result here. Even if they had at some point a little bit sooner than Schwartz potting that first one, once it was already, it was 4-0 Dallas at that point before he's able to get that one. If you're able to just get going a little bit sooner in that period, keep things when it's 2-0, 3-0, get something going. I think the rest of the game changes, especially if you come out in the third looking the way you did. Donnie series tied. What a great series. It's been a fun series. It has been. Schultz can't put too much on Grew. Kraken employed the Swiss cheese defense early. That they did. Defense was very rough in this one. Lots of losing their men. They just started looking a little panicky. I think they were trying to force things out of their own zone a little bit too much. Trying to hit those home run passes like they did in the last game, and it just wasn't there. Dallas was ready for that. They adjusted game to game, and they were ready for it. And so I just think the Kraken defense needed to, at some point, have a talk with themselves and calm things down. They really even didn't do this in the third period, even though they played better in the third period. But they just needed to calm things down and just say, all right, look, enough of this. Nobody's going to get between me and my goaltender. There's always going to be a Kraken between Philip Grubauer and the closest Dallas star. I think if they had just done something along those lines, kept things very simple, conservative defense in and around your goaltender, I think they could have stopped some of that bleeding, and then let the forwards come back. That then you can pull back the forwards. You can then get things going a little bit more Kraken hockey style, and I think that would have been to their benefit. Light with a super chat here. Really appreciate that, Light. Can't say the team is quitting it. Wish we won, but honestly expected the loss. I like our odds in a 2-3 series. I like our odds too, having those two road games, and the fact that the Kraken, they don't look terrible at home, right? 2-3 so far in the playoffs. That's not that bad, actually. So, you pick up one game in Dallas, you pick up the home game. Again, there's your two. I think that's totally doable for them. I know, just like we've been talking about all season long, how many losses have we come into this post game live? And we've had one of these therapy sessions. And the thing that gives us hope for the next game, or that thing that, leaves us with our chin held high, is the fact that this team does not quit. They always fight till the end. They always think they can come back into a game. They pull off stuff like tonight, where again, you still lost by 3 with that empty netter, right? So it doesn't look the greatest on the score sheet, but you frustrated Dallas. You put a little bit of fear in them. They know that you're capable of scoring in bunches. They saw it last game, and then you did it again in this one. And I think it's really important that if you have a game like this where really you got outplayed, or you outplayed yourself through the first 40 minutes, but then you're able to come out and dominate a period the way the Kraken were able to dominate the third period, that plants that little bit of seed in that other team's mind, that seed of doubt in the other team's mind, where they're going, okay, that means even if we jump out to a good first period next game, it's possible they flip that switch 20 minutes earlier, and we're going to have to find a way of dealing with that. And so far, when the Kraken have played well, when they have chemistry, when they defend, when they get a forecheck going, when they can complete a pass to one another, like they did in the third period tonight, Dallas just still doesn't have an answer for it. The Seattle Kraken are able to beat Ottinger. They're able to frustrate and confuse their defense. They're able to score. And so I think that's still a huge, huge deal from that last 20 minutes of this one. Gary with the super chat here. Some good shifts and moments from everyone. Big hits, huge save. Larson goal. I know, Gary. I know. I'm so happy for him. 17 unique goal scorers. I freaking love this team now to game 5. That's right. Going on to game 5. And yes, adding Larson into that 17 unique goal scorers so far this postseason is an incredible number. Like, I don't know. I should have looked this up. I don't know what the record is for like the most unique goal scorers for a team in a Stanley Cup playoff, but like we got to be getting close. It doesn't, like, I know when it was 15, 16, people were like, oh, here's the other teams, and it was only like 3 other teams. I can't imagine there's very many. There's more than maybe 2 or 3 that have done 17 before. and there's still time. There's still time. There's going to be at least 2 more games for the Kraken this postseason, at the very least. So I'm really looking forward to it. Love that goal from Larson. Again, just shoot it through traffic. Good things happen, right? Fottinger can't see it. He can't save it. Dallas was able to do that pretty effectively. You look at that first goal from Jamie Benn on the power play to kick things off for Dallas. Grubauer just couldn't see it, right? And it scores. Like, it can be that simple sometimes. So again, like I was saying earlier, the fact that the Kraken can still do those things, and when they do those things, Dallas can't answer it, I think is really important. So for the Seattle Kraken going on the road for game 5, it's just, hey, look, settle things down, calm things down in the defensive zone, play your game in the offensive zone where you get that cycle going, you get the forecheck going, you get the net front presence. The goals are going to come. You're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. Grubauer's going to bounce back. He's bounced back all the other games in the postseason so far. Got no reason to think that he won't. And so I think the message is pretty clear for the Kraken. It's just, hey, go back. Let's just go back to playing that Kraken hockey that got us here. And I think they're going to be just fine. AKA, well, Kraken did deserve the win tonight. Stars were just better all the way around. With that said, nice rally at the end and good momentum going into Dallas. Let's take the next one. All right, so you mentioned a word in your thing there. Again, I totally agree with you, AK. I mean, I've basically said all that stuff as well as we've been talking here. But you mentioned one word, momentum. And I have a theory about the Seattle Kraken team that, looking back on the full regular season with some hindsight, looking back on the first round with some hindsight, I think the Seattle Kraken don't know how to play with momentum. They only know how to fight against momentum and come crawling back after it. After momentum is shifted to the other team. I just don't think this team knows how to play with momentum. And you look at if they have a really dominant period, sometimes then they have issues containing that over into the next period, or even a sequence to sequence. Power plays, right? We'll see them grind, get rewarded with a power play, and then the power play just falls apart because they can't handle all that momentum going behind them. It's just too much of a tailwind. And I think that's why we saw them come out flat in this one. Because it just looked to me like, it wasn't that Dallas outplayed them the first 10 minutes of this game. It was that the Kraken outplayed themselves. They couldn't complete a pass. They weren't on the same page with each other. It just looked like one of those games, and we've all seen them. And I saw this in the first 10 minutes. I said, Kraken aren't winning this game. Because it just had all those moments, all those echoes of all of those, Kraken games that we remember from last season, the kind of downer games that we've seen them play this season. And I really thinking about it, I think it's just momentum, or the idea that they'd have this positive road swing and then they come back home. They've got all this momentum and then they just lay a clunker. And I just think there's something about this team that they don't play well with momentum. They need to be fighting and pushing back against momentum and then breaking through the way they did in the third period for this one. I just think that's an interesting thing. I don't know. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts about that. But that was a question I had after watching the first 10 minutes of this one and how rough the Kraken looked. And it was still scoreless at that point, but I was just like, if the Kraken, this is just a Kraken game and they're just going to drop it because they're sloppy. They weren't playing defense. They weren't making passes. I don't know. Nicole, not many positive things that you could take away from this game. They had it in them to play hard, but chose to in the last 20 minutes. I also really hate playoff Vince Dunn. I don't know what Vince Dunn was thinking there on a power play. He could have just poke checked. Just go for the poke check. Like maybe end up tripping him or something. But I don't think so. Why are you just coming in hacking down? Like I just don't even understand that idea. Also some chances I thought he could have taken some shots in the offensive zone, times where he didn't need to get, allow himself to get frustrated and drawn into prolonged conflicts with guys. This was a rough game from Vince Dunn, and it's a real shame because I felt like he was getting better as this series was going on, as the second round was going on. I really did think so. I see Gilberto agreeing that first done penalty was avoidable. You can clearly see he's frustrated. On a brighter note, does Karts keep getting more minutes? The guy's been fun to watch. I think it's possible. I think Cartier, because of that net front presence, we saw it on that Larson goal, that's definitely going to keep him in the lineup. That's going to keep him with minutes. We'll see what the plan is with McCann after this one, if it's to get him all the way back up onto the first line or not. I totally agree with their idea to to have it down there. Have him down there for this first game back. Let him work back into it. RJ's in chat here with some quotes here. Got one from Jared McCann, just talking about him. I have no idea what the hell goalie interference is anymore. I don't think anybody does in this league. RJ saying he was visibly angry when talking about it. I agree with Jared McCann. I have no idea what the heck it is. I just don't. You're gonna say that Grubauer was out of the crease. Well, Jamie Benn pushes him out of the crease. Like, he didn't have enough time to get set, in my opinion, and then Ben's touching him again and his gloves getting pulled. Like, he's never I just don't get it. They talk about him being out of the crease, but other times we've seen the crease doesn't seem to matter, right? Like, I just feel like it's been super inconsistent, and I just think that that's been an issue for the Kraken all year long. And ESPN had that stat: Kraken are 1 for 4 on goalie interference challenges this season, and I really believe that. I really believe that. I mean, we've been around for all of it. Light with a super chat here. Another one. Thank you very much. Canner sounds and plays very angry, and I actually love that because it only makes him scarier. I agree. He is one of these guys that when he is, and I'll get to this thing from Striatic up here a little bit, when he's determined, there's not a lot of things that can stop him. You know what I mean? Like, there just isn't. Jared McCann can be a force of nature. I thought he played a very good one in this one. He had some good looks, got some good chances, had some shorthanded ice time. I thought that was important to see. You know, it really meant the coaching staff felt he was ready to take on those responsibilities. This wasn't just, oh no, you know, the plan was originally for you to come back for game 5 or something, but because Sprong's out, we got to, you know, fumble you into the lineup. It was like, no, the coaching staff does feel like he's ready to come back in a more complete way. So I liked what I saw from Jared McCann tonight. He wasn't afraid to get in there with guys or anything like that. He looked good. He looked definitely good. And yeah, truth is, I mean, he's a good player. And when he gets frustrated like this, you know, generally we see him come out and do something good, right? It's not always a goal. A lot of times it's a goal, but we'll see what he has in store for us in that next game. Just going back to that Striatic one, Dave Haxtell says he doesn't believe in momentum, only determination. Well, then I guess the Kraken have, you know, just sometimes they just have days where they're just not determined. Um, or I don't know. It just, I'm telling you, it just feels like that, Lindsay, with the underdog mentality to the extreme. That's what it feels like. That's what it really feels like. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's my idea anyway. You know, we're all looking for reasons why sometimes these things happen, right? Russ, the Kraken I know and love weren't there that first half of the game, and then they're back in the second half. They are, and that's, you know, they've done that a couple times throughout the course of this season. Again, just consistency. I just want consistency. But it is, you know, it's just the way that they're built. But I like to think that they can, you know, come out in the next game. It's not going to be the same thing. We haven't seen them string 2 games like this together so far this postseason, where they're just kind of rough games, low energy games, low determination games, whatever you want to call it. We haven't seen the Kraken have 2 rough ones in a row this postseason so far. So again, it's another reason to have hope for the next one. Coop, so many what ifs. What if Grud doesn't try to sell that call? What if we win that challenge? What if we don't get scored on that next power play? What if Alexiak doesn't give away a goal at the end of the second? Oh, I know. There was a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of what ifs with all the losses. There's a lot of what ifs with wins too. It's a dangerous game to go down. I think you look at some of them, like the Alexiak one, for example, and you say, okay, we need to play better. That's a play that you just can't afford to make. That's a mental lapse you can't afford to make, especially given that situation, especially given that it's at the end of a period, all of that stuff. And so you look at those what ifs, and it's really just don't let it happen again. Right? They don't become what ifs, they become learning opportunities, and they become an opportunity to grow and improve upon for the next game. And I think a lot of those what ifs that you have there, I agree with you. Those are all moments in which this game, you know, kind of continued to fall in Dallas's favor. It's just a matter of looking at those and saying, what can we do differently for next time so that that doesn't happen. And I think Dave Haxall has proven that the Kraken have been very good at that this season. Gordy, I still say Kraken in 7. Got to catch a ferry to Victoria in the morning. Good night, Gordy. Thanks for joining us. I know I gotta catch a plane to Dallas tomorrow morning. I gotta get up really early, so we'll see how long I can keep this energy going here. Tons extension price going down from Ty. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Well, it's a conversation for when the postseason's over. Well, let's wait and see what he's got for us game 5, right? Um, let's see. Gilberto then pulling Jonesy with 4 left was solid move from Hack. I'm not even mad about that empty netter. I was. You know why? Because that's where I determined that this was a momentum thing. I thought, oh my gosh, the Kraken, they're generating momentum. They're pushing and they're coming back. Don't fall for it, Hackstall. Keep the pressure on your team. The moment they pulled Martin Jones was when it all clicked in my mind that they cannot play with momentum. And sure enough, the moment Martin Jones was gone, what did we start seeing? Sloppy passes. They couldn't complete passes. Dallas was just able to easily clear it. They weren't able to get the cycle going, any of that stuff. They switched to 6-on-5, and their brains went, wow, we've got a little bit of wind at our backs here. And then it didn't. So normally I'd agree with you, Gilberto. I'm totally fine pulling the goaltender with 4 minutes left, down by a couple goals. I just think with this specific Kraken team, I just think they need to feel like everything is stacked against them for them to actually go out there and perform at a top level. And so I don't think that that's to their benefit. Joey, we need to go for the kill tonight, and we didn't. Unlike what was said last game that we'd be happy with a split since we're a good road team. I'm sorry, this is not a positive 2 of 3 on the road. I think it still can be, Joey. I agree with you. It would be one thing if Dallas won this game 6-5 or 4-3, and it was just, they got it done with their backs against the wall, but the Kraken were right there with them the whole time. I would certainly be feeling a lot better about it. I think this third period, it's the thing you just have to look at, and you have to say, look, that team still exists. It's still there. They can do it. It's just a matter of doing it for at least 40 of the 60 minutes. You cannot get by dropping the first 2 periods of the game and then trying to turn it on. No team can do that. And you're especially not going to be able to get away with that in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And so the Kraken need to just not do that next time. Let's see. Dylan going to game 5, market as a win. I have a pretty good record so far this year, but it's not perfect. Daniel, what is goalie interference? So if goalie is out of the crease, you can hog time and it's okay. Dude, I don't know. I know that there is a difference between them being out of the crease. They're more fair game as far as incidental contact goes and stuff. It's not going to be weighed as heavily. You still can't check the goalie. You can't bump him to the point where he flies through the air 3 feet to his right. At least I thought you couldn't. I don't know. That's the best I've got on that one. Like I said, I mean, Hackstall, the video coaches, they get so many things right. How many times have we talked about game-changing moments with the Kraken challenging a play? They can't seem to figure out the goalie interference one either, so it kind of tells you that it's all up in the air. AK, they get too cute with the puck at times. Just shoot, man. You never know. I agree with you, AK, on that one 1,000%. There was a lot of times in the first 2 periods where the Kraken were making one too many passes, trying to get that extra little bit lower in the zone or get that little bit closer in the middle of the ice before they take the shot. Just take the shot. As we saw with that Larson goal, he's got 7 guys between him and Ottinger. Just fire it on net. It'll find a way to squeak through. The puck a lot of the time finds a way to squeak through. You know what I mean? It's very small compared to, all those guys out there. So I think the Kraken do need to shoot more. I just think that that's something that they have to do. It was pretty inexcusable that you end up with, I guess it's been corrected up to 10 shots on goal for the first 2 periods. That's not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done in any world. Is that going to get it done? Stratic with the reminder to like the stream. Appreciate it. Gregory, we have a hard time capitalizing on opportunities to keep our foot on the gas. We play better in the third, and I'm confident we'll win game 5. See, that's basically the same thing I'm talking about with the Kraken struggling when they've got momentum. I'm just saying. Gruby was probably tired. He's been playing lots of hockey. It's possible, Pablo. It is definitely possible. We'll see if having him out is gonna help out with that. If you think you know what goalie interference is, you're wrong from Lindsay. Basically. Russ, the draft of that goalie interference call turning me into Charlie with the string board about the NHL lol. Yeah, I totally know what you mean, right? Charlie from It's Always Sunny, the meme with him that when he's working the mailroom, he's got all the strings everywhere trying to uncover the big conspiracy. I know what you mean. I think a lot of people on Twitter are right there with you. Tammy, it was just one of those games. The goalie interference and power play are really the difference. And that could have gone the other way. Yeah, it's something, you knew the PK wasn't going to be like perfect forever. And I know they weren't perfect entering this game, but they were doing really well. Heiskanen came back with a vengeance. That guy knows how to run a power play. And then the Kraken, again, you get a couple opportunities as well. Get a couple 4-on-4 opportunities. I felt like that was the time to use their speed, and they just didn't. They played, and Boucher talked about this on the broadcast, the ESPN broadcast, but I said it even before that. They looked like it was 3-on-3 overtime. You know how we talked about this all year? We've wanted them, or at least I've wanted them to have more of a killer instinct. I know RJ would disagree with me with the 3-on-3 overtimes. But how many times did we see the Kraken just skate it out, have possession of the puck in the zone, 4-on-4, skate it out of the zone and back, and then try to do some sort of entry? I don't know that I agree with that. I think look at this last game. You guys just won that game 7-2. You telling me you don't believe that your offense can go and step it up when there's more time and space on the ice? Come on, come on. So that's another one that I would have liked to see from the Kraken is just better 4-on-4 play. Just because I think that they could. I think they're built for it. I think they have an advantage there over Dallas with their blue line. You stick a Schultz out there, Vince Dunn. I know he's not playing great right now, but still, I would think that would get it done for you. Lindsay, I flipped a coin on whether or not to spend an obscene amount of money on tickets for tonight and didn't end up going. The coin hath spoken. Now can spend way too much on game 6 Saturday. That's right. Lindsay, good luck, John. Needs to be there for game 6 for sure. Not that I'm trying to tell you how to spend your money, Lindsay, but like, gotta be at game 6. This road warrior mentality is going to be bad for us as Dallas wins game 5, considering how bad we are at home. I hope I'm wrong. Hey, look, we were around 500 during the regular season. We're still around 500 in the postseason at home. So it's not like home games are guaranteed losses. All right. And I think that that's important to remember here. That does mean that you can drop, the first road game. I was going to say you could drop one of the road games. If it goes to 7, you can't drop that road game. That's not one that you can drop. But it does mean that they could drop game 5, and I think that they would be okay. I just think, even tonight, if they play 40 minutes instead of 60, I think this game's way closer, and maybe even they find a way to win. So I know what you're saying, Joey, but I think they can do it. I think they're all right. Let's see. Our Bud, all right, still in a good place. Best of 3, just like the Avs series. Again. John, don't have to like our turnovers, but like the stream. Oh, I love it. I want to put that on a shirt. I'll wear that for all these post games. That would be a lot of fun. Schultz, would be nice if Kraken could string a couple of wins together this postseason. Hey, if it's coming at the cost of not stringing together losses, I'll take it. It's two ways to look at it, but I know what you mean. It would be nice just to get a little bit of something going. You know what I mean? Lindsay, are the Kraken undefeated with Dylan 5 gum in the building? Oh yeah, I like our odds game 5. Are they? I have to remember if they won the one Ducks game that I had the oh no, I didn't have the 5 gum for that game. They might be. Oh no, because I had it for the game I was up in Seattle. So on the road though. But we did lose that Tampa game because it's Tampa, so of course we lost when I was up in Seattle. My one game at Climate Pledge this year. Never give up, never surrender. Galaxy Quest from Donnie. Love it. That's totally what this team is for sure. Now I want to see like a Galaxy Quest poster with all the Kraken like photoshopped on there. Russ, it gives me heart palpitations, but we love the grind, don't we, folks? What it's all about. Sports, best reality show out there. Let's go. I'm serious though. It's the ability to elicit all of these emotions that I think makes sports so special and so unique. And I use that to defend it against all the people that I know that don't like sports or think it's bad or whatever. No, the fact that like a community like this can come together, we can talk about the game. I think that's really cool. The fact that we can all get together and watch a team win and all share in that happiness and all that great stuff. But also just the fact that, sports will make you feel something that not much else in life can make you feel. And in the same, in a short amount of time. And I think that that's really cool as well. Flipsy, yeah, script writers getting real lazy, and then Schultz down there, aren't they on strike? They are on strike. I know a lot of my friends out there on the picket line, the Kraken have been keeping me from being able to join them, actually. um, yes. Let's see. Buffalo guy, this is exactly what happened with the Stars the last series. Lost 1 in overtime, 1-2, got blown out in 3, 1-4, 1-5, 1-6. Well, let's hope that script does not repeat itself. Let's hope whoever wrote that one is out on the line as well. Canner coming back is great, but also was probably a little disruptive. Should be settled down next game from Tammy. Yeah, I mean, 4 penalty minutes isn't what we wanted to see from McCann coming back. That's probably not what we had in mind. But I think he will be more settled down for the next one. I also think, look, if the rest of the team is playing a little bit better too, it's probably easier for him to get worked back in. It'll be interesting to see, though, like what the plan is as far as where he's going to slot into the lineup, because I really don't think that game 5, the plan was ever to have him on the 4th line. I think that was just something here because it was maybe a little ahead of their time table for him. So it'll be interesting to see what they have going on with him there. Also from Tammy, I think sitting Grew was good to give him a little rest. Also give Jones a little work, let him shake off the rust. I agree. Like I said earlier, I'm not usually in favor of a move like that, but it did feel like the appropriate thing in this one, and it did spur on the team to kind of come out with that better effort level. So I'm all right with it. Ultra Otter was great. Otter was all right. Like, he was good. I will give you that he was good. Obviously, an 842 save percentage isn't like the best thing in the world. I just think the Kraken didn't really test him that much. And you know what? That probably helped Otter after that last game, struggling. The fact that, he got tested regularly enough that he wasn't going to get like complacent, but he wasn't threatened enough that it was going to get to him. But then when the Kraken really poured it on in the third period there, they're able to get some goals, get bodies in front of him, and you could start seeing those holes in his game open back up a little bit. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the Kraken can come out and attack him early on in that next one. Bones, NHL can't let Dallas lose 2 good times in a row. Maybe, but so far they haven't let us lose 2 times in a row either. So I'm just saying. Let's see. Edward, goalie interference is okay if you push the goalie out of the crease first. Precedent has been set. It's possible. It's possible. Let's see. Joe Mama, great name, very original. Outclassed. Stars are clearly the superior team. Where were you last game? That's what I have to ask to you, Joe Mama. I really hope you're wrong about them not being able to play well with positive momentum and expectations, because that would probably not mean great things for next season. Raw Rain. They've got a whole off season to figure it out and come to terms with it and figure out a way to make it work. But yes, I know what you mean. It's not the great thing ever. Daniel, I don't think Dunn gets called for a penalty if his stick doesn't break. I agree with you on that first one, Daniel, but the bottom line is I still don't know why you're coming down hard on the stick there. A poke check would have sufficed. You can knock the puck loose. Don't let Fox get in there and make that play. I think you'd be all right. You know what I mean? Like, you just didn't need to do that. Cheshire Cat with the super sticker. Just work with is that the thing on here? Oh, I hope it popped up. I hope it popped up on the YouTube thing. I'm over in StreamYard, so I hope that popped up, Cheshire Cat. Thank you very much for that. Really, really appreciate it. All right, let's go. RJ.
Hey, Dylan.
Where were the Kraken those first 40 minutes, bud?
I don't know. I was watching. I was looking for him. Couldn't find him.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys out there wearing their jerseys, but it didn't quite feel like them. But then that third period, I mean, they do what they do. You know what I mean? They come out, they pressured hard. That was the first time it felt like, hey, they can make a pass to one another. Like, that was pretty cool. You can get the puck out of your own zone, move it up the ice, get the forecheck going. I think it's important that they had that for that third period, RJ. But boy, I wish in a game like this they could have had it a little sooner.
Right. I mean, it should be no surprise. I mean, we know this team. There's no quit in them ever. So that's huge. Let's see. So that is huge. But, yeah, it just was kind of too little too late. They put on a good push, but, just need to play better through the first, 20, 40 minutes, really.
Yeah, that's a big aspect of all of this. I had a theory came to me earlier, RJ. It actually came to me when Dave Hackstall pulled the goalie, pulled Martin Jones in this one. All right. And my theory is that the Kraken cannot play with momentum. This is a team that has to be fighting against momentum to be able to accomplish anything. And that would explain the bad start to this one because they had all the momentum from the last game. It would also explain why they went from being like super hot, and then the moment the goalie's pulled, they can't make passes, plays all down in their own zone, even though they don't have a goalie, and all this stuff starts falling apart on them. Any thoughts on that?
It's an interesting theory. I mean, I don't want it to be correct. I mean, it tracks in some aspects, but yeah, I don't know about that one. We'll keep watching for that. Sorry, it keeps my screen keeps going away.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, as long as you can hear me, I guess. Just stand there and smile, RJ. You're good. Yeah, and it would explain the whole, they can go on an epic road series and then come back, to Climate Pledge Arena and just play bad. It's just momentum, not good for him. How was the the locker room after this one, RJ? We saw what you put about McCann in chat. Thank you for that. That was cool to hear from him. I got to imagine though that guys, probably disappointed with themselves given how the game started.
Yeah, I think they were disappointed themselves. I think they knew that wasn't kind of the game they wanted to play. It wasn't their best game. Jared McCann personally just seemed very frustrated. You saw the answer he gave about the goalie interference call, and he seemed just kind of frustrated in general about how that game went. I think that's not what he was looking to have happen overall in his first game back, and I think he was kind of fighting it. It was getting a little heated toward the end of this one too. Jordan Eberle, a little bit more. Jaden Schwartz, a little bit more measured. As you might expect. The more veteran player, and he had a really good game personally. But yeah, I think the whole team kind of wanted better as a whole.
Yeah, just wanted to know what kind of room I'm going to be walking into on Thursday. That's all.
I think you'll get a room that's determined to make things right after this game. I mean, we've seen it as kind of a theme for the Kraken. Like whenever they have not the best performance, kind of a stinker. I mean, you look after Game 2. They came out Game 3 wanting to be their absolute best. I think you're going to be walking.
Oh, obviously, we're having the problems with the video there on RJ. All right, we'll try to get him back here. But yeah, maybe. There, you look back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Give me a sec.
All right, sounds good. Lindsay, if we declined that power play in the third, then they definitely would have scored again 5-on-5. I'm telling you, there needs to be an option where we can decline penalties. There has to be. Like, come on. That should be simple enough, right? Right? We can make that happen. We'll petition the league in the offseason, talk to the competition committee. Good point on the empty netter comment, dude. Have fun in Dallas. It's a great place to catch a game. The fans are fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be my first time in Texas, so excited about that as well. All right, let's try this again with RJ. How's it going?
Should be better now. I don't know what was happening there. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It happens.
It's the hexagons, Dylan.
It's the hexagons. The stream just couldn't handle it.
I know. So yeah, we have learned that hexagons are the worstigons. I won't wear this shirt again. Sorry, everybody. It's probably too small for you all to see it, but yeah, there's little hexagons on here. It's the pattern. So
that's it. That's it. We know now for next time, everybody. That was a big question last game. We have our answer. Edward, there was an episode of South Park where the Avs let a team of kindergartners play the third period for them. Are you saying that's what the Stars did? I'm not going to let you take away all that good work from the Kraken, Edward. Not like that. But you are right, and it's a great episode. Striatic. Maybe in the meantime, CPA needs some quiet offense at work graphics like the Seahawks have. Oh, you think that would help, RJ? Again, if the momentum's what's bad, that might help them.
I guess so. I mean, creative solutions, I suppose. I guess we're at that point here.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people calling it an interesting theory. So we'll see.
Okay.
I'll take it. I'll take interesting. It's better than what I'm usually called. Let's see. Imagine if Hackstall pulls a Dean Evison and puts Jones out for Game 5 from Fusion Mix. I really don't think that's happening, and I really don't want it to happen.
No, I don't either. That would be a very bad idea. I thought he did fine in relief, though. So, good to see him, just in there looking somewhat solid.
Yeah, no, if they need him, he's there. Striatic. Otter still hasn't had a quality start per Munning puck all series. all season. Boy, that would be interesting. All series. Yeah, I talked about it earlier, RJ. 842 save percentage from him. Look, the bottom line is the Kraken still know how to get after him, and that's just get bodies in front of him. Get him a little bit confused with what you're doing in front of him with like the tic tac goal that we saw, the one of those Jaden Schwartz goals, the Adam Larson one. Of course, he's never going to see that puck. He can't ever stop that one. So I'd like to see the Kraken come out and try to do that a little earlier on than maybe with 10 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, I mean, it really did turn into like the goalie battle here too. They were bumping Grubauer, they were making life difficult on Philip Grubauer, and the Kraken weren't really doing that to Jake Ottinger. They weren't making him move a lot side to side. I just think the difference in how easy or hard each goalie had it tonight was pretty stark.
Yeah, I agree with that. Edward, hexagons, more like hexagons.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think we can agree on that now.
Yep. Edward should have known the word hex was in there the whole time. Hindsight, it's really one of those things. It gets you.
Yeah. Where was this in chat after the last game?
You were there, Edward. I know. Lindsay, still can't be too upset. Tied 2-2. House money, guys. Got to keep it in perspective. Could be way worse. Hey, at least we aren't the Leafs down 0-3. Hashtag how does this affect the Leafs? Love it, Lindsay. Love it.
Yeah, and I think, going into these two games, tied 1-1 with Dallas after 2, I think you take a split beforehand. It's tough when the order comes like this, but you would take that split. You'd feel comfortable in a best of 3 here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's just one of those. And, look, I don't know. Maybe if this game was a little stronger, RJ, I'd really be like, yeah, no, it's fine. We've totally got this. It's the Avs series all over again. There was just enough of it where it was just like, hey, get going. Like at some point, get going here. And maybe now. So that was one of them. Let's see. Oh, Lindsay, I don't know. Maybe RJ needs to wear the shirt again to reverse the Kirks. Hexa be gone.
Hexa be okay. Interesting. I don't know about that though. I don't think I should wear this one again.
I'm not willing to test it, especially depending on how Game 5 goes for that Game 6.
I won't wear it for Game 5 for sure. No suit for me Game 5.
That is true. Edward Dillon, no, the opposite first 2 periods felt like a pro team versus Pee-wees. I just don't get it, RJ, because like the last one we were seeing them, they were connecting on long stretch passes through a couple zones. Like they were able to do a lot of stuff, and then this one they literally couldn't pass cross defensive zone to each other. Like I just don't know what happened there.
Yeah, they were out of sync and stuff that it wasn't really always the Stars forcing it either. It just like again, out of sync is kind of the words I can think of to describe it. I don't know why. I mean, it's hard to explain that. I don't know why exactly that happened. Something you're going to want to look at. I mean, yeah, they didn't have like a practice day in between, but that's kind of been par for the course all playoffs. So I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know what to make of the Kraken defense either, RJ. Made the joke when it came on that my hair is all frizzy like this because I was pulling it out watching the Kraken play defense tonight. This was really the first game that I felt like, really all 6 of them just had a bad game defensively, where it was just you were losing guys in the defensive zone, just weren't bodying them up. Both guys are trying to leave the zone and move up with the puck before the puck's left the zone. Like it was just weird how often they were just, not really kind of aware of their surroundings.
Yeah, and again, I don't know where that comes from. It's uncharacteristic for this team, and especially kind of 1 through 6. You look at how they let guys kind of behind them. They were missing their D-zone assignments too. We've seen that from them in the past, but even just with the puck, that was the biggest difference. It's just kind of the play with the puck and not making those smart plays. I don't know. I'm sorry I don't have a whole lot of answers.
No, I know.
For that. It's just one of those things where it's like you're not trying to miss your D partner with a cross ice pass in your own zone. Like they're not trying to do that.
Right. No, exactly. I totally know what you mean. It's just that way. Bumber. There was a lot of weird bounces of pucks going in between skates and off skates. Unlucky bounces, question mark. Got to make our own luck, though, I guess. There was some in this one, RJ, where it felt like the luck wasn't always there, especially with some of the bounces in and around Jake Ottinger in the crease there. Or even if you look at the Ty Domi empty net goal. I mean, there's like 3 Kraken that go in for that puck, and it just bounces right over their stick, and he's able to just keep going. I do think that was a little bit of it tonight, but it really doesn't explain just kind of the poor early start for the Kraken.
Yeah, and I like that. Like, you make your own luck. I mean, if you're in positions to take advantage of bounces when they go your way or don't go your way, I mean, that's kind of what determines whether you're going to be able to benefit from that or not. And I think the Stars were just all over for when those bounces happened. They were in the right spots.
Yeah. Basics talking about that. I think there was a little bad luck in there. Ottinger made some good saves. Kraken definitely could have played much better, though. One or two more players step up their game, and this game was winnable. I also see there was another one in here from Schultz. There wasn't enough physicality early. Took Cartier's hit to ignite something. Cartier finishing with 7 hits in this one, RJ, and then also the big job of being in front of Ottinger for that Larson goal towards the end there. He's still playing really, really well. That being said, now that Jared McCann has a game under his belt, do you think we see him move back up to the first line?
I think probably. I mean, that's eventually probably where you want him. You don't want him on the fourth line forever. And I think this game kind of eased him back into it a little bit. Dave Haxtell, did say it's a real tough assignment for him going in there and just getting thrown right into playoff hockey like that. And so, he's going to have his ups and downs. But I thought Cartier was really good. I liked what I saw from him. The physicality reached a new level tonight. And so I think he's kind of earned a spot somewhere. We'll see where Dave Haxtell decides to put him. But yeah, McCann was taking some shifts too toward the end of the game in the third period, up with Beniers and Eberle. And I do think that's ultimately where they want him.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that was probably the plan for game 5 all along, whether he was going to play in this one or not. Let's see. What did Haxtell say tonight?
So Haxtell, I mean, he wasn't a huge fan of the effort in the beginning. He did acknowledge, look, we don't give up. We didn't go away. But yeah, I think he felt that there were some things to be cleaned up. I do remember his answer on the goalie interference thing. I put in what McCann said. Yeah. Haxtell said that basically kind of going through the play. And at first he said, I don't really want to get into it, but then he did really get into it. So he said that Gruby, I felt like Gruby was kind of thrown so far out of the crease there that he couldn't really, no matter how much time is in between that and the shot, it's impossible to reset. And so that kind of was his argument on that play. And it was interesting. DeBoer kind of countered with that, he felt like Grubauer did reset and then the shot comes in. And so, at that point, the second shove isn't as relevant because, he's getting pushed in and all that stuff. So that was kind of the two coaches' opinions on it. I'm sure you guys have talked about this at length from the start. But those were kind of the big takeaways from the coaches' comments.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that endlessly trying to figure out what this is, right? Because it feels like from call to call, like at no point have we seen a precedent really set with some of what the Kraken have had to deal with specifically this year. I'm sure if you looked at all of the games, you'd be able to really kind of figure it out. But based on the Kraken, ESPN talked about it. Kraken 1 for 4 when challenging goaltender interference this season. So clearly, Kraken have a great job of challenging, got great video coaches, all that stuff. They can nail the offside call, nail all that stuff. It's clear they're not necessarily maybe all that clear on what can constitute goaltender interference, just like, at least I'm not.
Yeah, and as McCann said, I don't think anyone in this league is, and I think that's a sentiment that a lot of people agree with. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and you look at the video coaches; they clearly saw something there, and it's their jobs to see that. And when you're 1 for 4, like on the offsides, it's cut and dry. You get that 100% of the time because you can see it. Goalie interference just feels like nobody knows.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Dante, they will respond in game 5. The Kraken will win. I'm sure hoping for that. And then Bumber, Ben is a veteran at walking that line. Boy, is he, RJ. So we saw Pavelski get moved back up to the top line for the Dallas Stars. And this is where I was really upset with. I think this is probably what upset me the most with the Kraken's slow start to this one, RJ, was it allowed Pavelski in that top line with Robertson and Hintz to get going a little bit. And the last thing I wanted was for that move to actually work for Pete DeBoer, because it was kind of a move of desperation to reunite those guys. And it just felt like it wasn't even because they were doing it. It was just because the Kraken were going to let anybody score tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I keep thinking of that turnover. He didn't score on it, but giving Robertson that chance, was able to just walk into the slot. You don't want to give them opportunities like that where they feel like they have space. It's interesting. Although one of the things that Allison, I was sitting next to Allison for the coaches' pressers, and she was pointing this out to me. She was looking at the stats, and apparently, according to the expected goals, like Corsi and Fenwick for all of that, the more advanced metrics, that top line of Hintz, Robertson, and Pavelski apparently got caved in. They had like 30% or so of the expected goals, which is not what I would have thought given the eye test. So it makes me want to kind of go look back and see. I was telling her I kind of want to see the splits of like, okay, periods 1 and 2 versus period 3, and how much of that was made up in the third once it was 5-1. But just something to consider there. It didn't really match with what I thought I saw.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at Money Puck right now, obviously leading the way for the Stars with 11:23 time on ice together at 5-on-5, 0.269 expected goals for, 0.448 expected goals against. So, yeah, I mean, that's not great. Those aren't great there. And I mean,
what are the actual goals?
On ice goals for it's 0-0.
Okay.
At 5-on-5.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting. That's a really interesting one. Of course, leave it to Allison.
I know. Like, I wouldn't have even thought about that, but of course she's on it and kind of looking and has that interesting takeaway. So I'm sure she's going to put that in her post game thing. Sorry, Allison, for kind of taking that, grabbing it here for our post game. But like, it was just too interesting not to talk about.
Of course, do it right before I gotta go and face Allison now.
I did tell her you're going to be there in Dallas. She said great. So
cool. Yeah, looking at even their next line, the Bend line, also, I mean, even worse, it looks like at 5-on-5 as far as the expected goals against versus the expected goals for. Although, it's not totally a surprise. The Kraken, they're a 5-on-5 team. They've played well this way all year long. That's the way it is for them. But still, given the fact that the Kraken had 9 adjusted to 10 shots on goal through the first 2 periods combined, I'm still surprised that any of these numbers would look like this at 5-on-5 even.
Right. It's kind of surprising to me. And also on the 10 shots on goal through 2 periods figure, as soon as that was even brought up to Hackstall, he just kind of interjects like, yeah, that's not enough. That is not nearly enough. No. So he knows.
Yes, definitely. Schultz asking if there's any Berkey updates. I mean, still not for this round. I think even early next round would be a stretch.
Right. I think it would. He's not coming back this round. If the Kraken do get past this round and they start the series in the Western Conference Final, we will, of course, ask and see if there's an update to be given, because that's kind of the point where you start to think about it. But he's not coming back for this series.
No, unfortunately. Is there any word or guesstimate on McCann increasing minutes and special teams? I mean, I would assume probably not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I think that's something that the team's going to want to go and evaluate, watch the film, talk with him, see where he's at, and kind of reevaluate right before Game 5 where they want to put him. I mean, Dylan, you'll be there for morning skate. You'll see kind of where he's at, what line rushes he's on, what he's doing as far as power play work. So I'm sure you'll keep us all up to date on that.
Yep, definitely will. We definitely wanted to make sure I could get in. That's why I'm going tomorrow, so I could make sure I could be there for that morning skate, because it should be a big one. We've had this fun troll in here, RJ Joe Mama. A move of desperation, lol. That's one of the best #1 lines in the NHL, and the only time they've played a part in 3 years is in this series. It was also the last series, so I'll throw that one out there. But it was for this series. I mean, tell me the Stars weren't desperate going into this, and that's the change that they made. Just saying, like it tracks. The logic tracks. The other thing I want to talk about with the Dallas Stars, RJ, and I haven't talked about it yet this post-game live, is one of the things that frustrates me with the Kraken, again, coming out as flat as they did, was the Stars were missing a lot of guys. Like, there's a lot of people out of the lineup for them. And that's, even before Mason Marchment ended up having to leave the game early on. Obviously, hope he's okay. But they had
Jamie Benn for a bit too.
Jamie Benn left for a little while, but Hawkenpaw wasn't in there, so you didn't have to deal with his physicality, defensively. You didn't have to worry about that. And then also Dellandrea was out with illness, I believe it was. And so it felt like one of those, you didn't know if Heiskanen was going to be at 100%. I mean, we should have known he would be. He's a great player.
Yeah. Oh, wow. He played 31 minutes?
Yeah, 31:02.
Incredible.
Yeah. No, and you could just tell, like, again, speculation, something has to be broken in there. He was so swollen. That looks so painful, RJ. So painful.
And there are pictures up on Twitter of his face from the close-up scrums. Like, look at him if you dare. But yeah, it's clear he got hit pretty good.
Yeah, it's one of those. So I just thought that that was again another one where it was, look, Dallas Stars are missing some people here. These are guys who have made some noise in this series. You could really take advantage of that as you're looking to, kind of go up and take a commanding lead in the series. And again, just the Kraken didn't.
Right. That's a situation you can take advantage of, especially that short bench. When you lose Marchment that early in the game, all of a sudden you got to start
Yes.
rotating the other forwards. It's difficult for a coach. And I will say, Pete DeBoer, I mean, he showered praise upon the players who, came in that tough time, like Kivi Ranta and those guys who stepped up when needed. And I mean, his words about like Miro Heiskanen. Like, I mean, what more could you say about a guy playing like 31 minutes in those circumstances?
Yes.
But, he talked about him and Pavelski stepping up, taking on the increased load as well. Talking about how those guys never, ever cheat for offense. Like, everything they generate is honest. They play an honest game. I mean, like, after that kind of game, why wouldn't you be talking about your top players like that? But DeBoer gave him a lot of credit.
Exactly. No, they're fantastic players. Shea saying Dallas is putting so much on one guy. It's crazy. I'm assuming talking about Haskin in there. It's a lot. It's a lot to put on him. But you know what? This is something that we've talked about with the Kraken, right? When you have one of those defensemen, one of those true number one defensemen in this league, this is what they can do. We've seen a lot of teams win Stanley Cups. You don't have to go back very far. Look at Victor Hedman with Tampa Bay Lightning. I'll always think back to some of those Chicago runs with Duncan Keith, where they play 30-plus minutes almost every single night. Go all the way back to Anaheim with Niedermeyer and Pronger. I mean, they were playing like close to 40 minutes a night, it felt like, in that 07 series. So it's one of those things when you have one of those just rock star defensemen, you can have them play half that game through the postseason and they will help carry your team. And that is one of those aspects of having an elite defenseman on that roster.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can play him for half the game too. He's there all the time.
Yep.
And I mean, you see the difference from last game to this game.
Exactly. It's a big one. Let's see. Ayers asking, was McCann put in too soon tonight?
I mean, I don't think it hurt the team. I mean, he didn't seem to aggravate any kind of injury. So, there's limited downside there since he seems okay health-wise. I don't think he hurt the team over Jesper Froden. I think they were probably better off having him in the lineup there. So I guess with those two answers, no, I guess they didn't put him in too soon. Although I do think there was kind of a feeling out process, an adjustment process for him. He certainly wasn't 100%. He didn't look like, all of what we know from Jared McCann, but maybe it's good to get that out of the way, get those game reps out of the way now. Do you know what his final ice time was? I forgot to check.
Yes, it was 13-11. He had 108 on the power play and 48 shorthanded. And it's that shorthanded time on ice, RJ, that for me tells me that, you know what, he's back, and any of that stuff that you were just talking about, because I saw that too. I think that was also just playing with the fourth line and in a role in a situation that he's not totally used to, and just being out as long as you are, the fact that it was, what we are assuming was a concussion, all of that. I'm willing to excuse some of those things from McCann, but obviously the coaching staff felt like he was ready to go. They gave him his spot on the PK.
Yeah, and that was big. And I remember one of the PKs too. He was out there for the end of it, where he was out there with Matty Beniers and Jordan Eberle was coming out of the box, and so they're like, okay, we could have him kill the penalty and go back out there with the top line. So they were putting him in those positive situations.
Yeah. Ty asking you, RJ, if your price for Dunn is going down.
Yeah, I mean, yes, personally, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a bit of a tough playoffs for him. He's had some good moments, but I really, if it's in that 8.5 to 9 range, which is what probably he's going to be seeking, I feel really nervous about that, to be honest. And so we'll talk about it more as we approach the off season, but we'll see if this does bring the actual price down.
Yeah. Bumber, Alexiak aggressive pinching and zone carries beneficial or too risky? I know he has giant silky hands, but still, I like him. And you know what? Good things have happened all season. Like, there are just guys sometimes go on magical offensive seasons from any position on the ice. And I think this is just one of those for Alexiak. So if he's feeling it that night, you let him feel it.
Yeah, we saw a couple moments this game too where I thought he was able to generate something offensively too when he's feeling it with the puck. He's so hard to body out to the side. I mean, if he's taking that puck around you, how do you get across him to get that puck? if he's coming in at you. And I mean, we kind of have a little bit of a joke up in the press bridge, like for moments like that where we see him coming and we're like, oh, Bobby Orlexiak, yeah, Bobby, what you doing? So
Yeah. No, and I like, to be honest, so much of what the Kraken are able to do defensive or offensively comes from, getting the defenseman involved. And, how many times in this one was Adam Larson down low and finding, he was getting open and he was able to generate a shot a lot closer than you'd think he would. We've seen that from Alexiak in the past, as we just talked about. Carson Soucy, obviously last game. Vince Dunn throughout the year, Will Borgen a lot, especially earlier on in the season, and then Justin Schultz, who's looked fantastic this whole postseason. So I think that's just a big part of how the Kraken like to play the game. They like to activate that defense. You talked about it. That's one of the hallmarks of Dave Hackstall's system. So like I said, I'm pretty much in favor. They've done a really good job of working with these guys from last season to this season about learning when it's okay to pinch up, when it's okay to be aggressive, and having like the wingers or the center understand when their defenseman is doing that somebody has to be back for them to not allow the odd man rushes. Because really, I can't tell you how many games we lost last year because of that scenario that we were able to win this year because we just didn't have them. You know what I mean? I think that was that might have been the biggest difference as far as like an on ice, like strategy X's and O's standpoint, that the Kraken were able to take year over year. So I trust in what the Kraken have been doing all season when it comes to that kind of stuff. Let's see. I want done around 2. Just curious on what people think from Ty there. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it a ton when the off season comes around. Good night, Pablo there. I know coming up on the hour here. I'll do a quick last call here. Ryan, Stars fan here. Seattle is crazy good with their pressure game. Great series so far. Looking forward to the next couple games. We are too, Ryan. It's going to be a good one. This has been a fun series so far. Nice back and forth stuff. If it sticks to that, it should be all right, RJ. We'll take it in 7.
Yeah, if it sticks to that pattern. I think from game 1, we kind of figured this would be a long, competitive series. That's what it's shaping up to be, and it's been a fun back and forth. It's been great seeing Stars fans, whether in here or just on Twitter, or and talking with some of the Stars media tonight too, getting to meet some of them and kind of seeing them enjoy the city too. We've heard good things about the city of Seattle from those traveling from Dallas, and I'm sure you'll have good things to say about Dallas when you come back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. The weather doesn't look great. Mid 80s with thunderstorms and scattered showers. Like, oh boy, packing today was sure interesting. I'll say it that. The base 6 would love to see Geeky assert himself more. He's not getting much ice time. Needs to prove himself more to get it. He still has a wicked shot, but 0 shots on goal. Look, he's playing a different role when he's up there on that second line in the winger spot versus when he's centering the fourth line. So I'll excuse some of it. I do think that he was much better last game than this one, but I could say that about just about everybody on the team. So I don't know.
It seems like they kind of rise and fall together. I will say one of the Kraken's best chances all game, I thought, was Geeky made a really nice pass from behind the net out to Wenberg. And it was earlier in the game, too, and a goal would have really helped in that moment. Wenberg kind of fanned on that puck a little bit, didn't go the way he wanted to, but good vision from Geeky there on that pass. Like, I think he still was creating something.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then Strag, does the PK need any changes after giving up some goals?
I don't. I think at this point, not really. Again, holding them to the outside, not to the outside, but up top, basically letting them kind of play around with it up top. I think you want to cover better in front of your own net. You want to, do better in that area, but that isn't like really a tactical change. Mm-hmm. It's just execution. I think that's what needs to get better.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, it's the simple stuff. And it goes for the same thing when they were defending 5-on-5. They just didn't have it tonight in any shape or form, whether it was going to be on special teams or 5-on-5. They just did not have defending really like in them for this one. Unnecessary zippers only watched the first period, but did McCann look super shaky? A little bit, maybe early on, but he started to pick it up and he started getting more shifts with either the first line or even the second line. That's partly why Geeky had less ice time too. Going back to Geeky, it was a shift or two I saw with him in there.
Right.
And then, Ty and Bumber talked about the power play. Power play is a full-on bathroom break. I honestly get worried when we're up a man. It's the momentum, RJ. They just can't handle it.
Right. I mean, it's tough because I mean, Jared McCann kind of being integrated back into the power play in this one. There were a few moments where the puck kind of hit him in the feet or he wasn't able to really collect it. He didn't feel as confident, I think, shooting the puck and being in his normal spot. And I think that's just going to take time. But they have had to make a lot of changes on that power play, rotating guys in and out, missing McCann, then bringing in Karche, and then Sprong being out as well. We haven't talked about that for the power play. I mean, that really hurts too. So I just think there's a lot of moving parts. They just got to simplify. That's been the answer all along, is just simplify, get shots from the point, and send guys to high danger areas to be there for the rebounds.
Yeah. Schultz, Geeky to the fourth for Cartier. Well, I mean, I don't know. If McCann goes up to the first line, and so then Cartier falls to the fourth, would then put Cartier up on the second line, RJ, for Geeky?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was having in mind, where Geeky goes down to the fourth, Cartier moves to the second, and McCann up to the first. Normally, like after last game, I'd say that's too dramatic a change, but maybe not after tonight.
Yep, I understand that one. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us for this one. Going to call it. I got to get up at 4:30 tomorrow morning to get ready and get out the door.
Get what sleep you can, Dylan. Thanks for staying up for this.
Definitely. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Of course, thank Queen Anne Beer Hall for sponsoring these post-game lives. Really appreciate all their support. Go check them out. And yeah, we'll see everybody after that game on Thursday. Another post-game live.
Should be a fun one.
Yep. See y'all next time.